What's up? Welcome back. Anyone else brain feeling better? It's a little better. It's getting there. Sorry, adjusting. What did I do? Listen to my soul. It's crazy because, like, you feel like it's easy, right? Like, this is my cycle. I figure this out, right? I figure out I'm doing too much. I'm not being soul-led. I'm out of alignment. Yes, I'm doing the things that are very much me, but I'm doing them in a way, and this is how I get confused about whether or not I'm in alignment or not, because what I consider alignment is like alignment with my goals, alignment with my higher self. But then I exclude the part where you're like aligned with your soul, like you are the soul, but then we have the tendency to let our little brain balls here tell us, no, you can't do that. You can't do what the soul just told you to do. You've got bills to pay. You got chores to do. And like, as much as that is 100% true, there needs to be some flexibility here. There needs to be a flow through the day. Yet I personally have a fear that flow will induce laziness or stagnation, which then induces frustration, depression, for me personally, anxiety. And then that leads to substance abuse, which then leads to a trap house type like home, where you gotta step over trash and there's nowhere to sit, everything's disgusting, there's like silverfish bugs everywhere. Like, yeah, dude. So, we talked about this a couple episodes ago, where we don't realize that we are still operating out of fear. Yes, we're not operating out of the same fears, the fears that we may have experienced in our pasts, but now it's about running away from those fears and maintaining a life that never induces those fears again. And those ones are the unconscious ones. Those are the silent ones. Those are the unnoticed ones. Because you're just like, it's all good, but you're still building life off of fear of return. Fear of returning to who you were before. That's me personally, but I'm pretty sure it's not just me. I think it's an unconscious thing that we are doing as a society, or just people who've gone through trauma and PTSD, and we're on this healing journey. You know, you go through stages of recognizing that you're operating out of fear, and you're changing those things. My first thing was like how I'm interacting with other people. I recognized that was out of fear, and then you change that. But now it's like I'm doing chores out of fear. I'm hustling and pushing myself to accomplish, which is great. It's a great thing. But out of fear? No. Out of fear that I will lose what I have gained, that I'll ruin or return to the hell that I've dug myself out of. And so the question is then, how? How do we then do this all without the fear? The answer through my solo meditations has been trust. Trust yourself. Like, just because our brains overlap the past and the present doesn't mean that's actually where you're at. Isn't that nuts? Like, it's not actually where you are, though. You're not on the tipping point of returning to your old self. This is being brought up for us to work with, to heal, to cut ourselves a slack, maybe get a break, and just start recognizing that this is just healing. This part is the healing part. It's not you returning. It's not backtracking. It's not inviting the past into the future or the present, which was very hard for me to believe. I really believed that is the cycle that's happening. And it's not. It's just you're ready to heal it. You're ready to look at it. And it's not, because even though I hit one of my lowest depression swings that I haven't had in about a year, like every time I hit one of those, and it feels terrible, feels horrendous, but I never go back to substance abuse. I never go back to dismantling my home. I don't let the dishes all pile up. You know what I'm saying? There's not trash all over the side of my couch where I sit. These are like old tendencies, right? So that's me at my worst in my present, and it didn't do that. Those things didn't happen. So that is the part where I believe is the begging of asking me to trust myself. I think I hit that low depression. I lost my mind, had to become open with the people in my life about the fact that I do have the tendency to do these swings. And when I'm in one of them, I do lose my mind. Like, I'm not just saying that as a joke. Like, I really do. And I had to face that. And I had to express and open up. Stop trying to beat a dead horse, though. Like, that's what I typically do when that happens is I wall up and I go into a cave and I'm like, I have to fix this. I have to fix it on my own before I can, like, go out and or come back into the world in any type of way. And I think that this swing, this cycle, this season is teaching me that that's not the right way to do it. There is no light switch answer to PTSD. You know, and I think being a life coach, you're able to compartmentalize and come up with proactive plans and help people heal, and you have like an answer. There's like a PDF answer to most problems. And there are, but that doesn't mean upon reading the freaking PDF and practicing applying it that all of a sudden the light switch just goes on and you don't have PTSD anymore. It's not how freaking works. And I get wrapped up in that like, you know, you're and also comparing myself, seeing other people healing around you and everyone and you're like, all right, well, that tool is working for them. Why does it seem like my tool needs to be more complicated? Because we're not all the freaking same, bro. Like, what's with the compare and contrast? That's something that I learned, like, in the beginning of my outpatient trauma therapy group thing. It was, like, written on the board one day. Never compare your life to another's. The sun and the moon both shine when it's their time. Was written on the whiteboard. Exactly. And I always overlook. I'm like comparing myself. That's another thing. I don't talk about it enough, the depths of the things I've been through. So I'm almost like gaslighting myself into thinking it's lighter than it is. So when I'm seeing people progress and we have these success stories and I'm congratulating my clients and they're freaking nailing it, like, right, they might have had, you know, less of a experience or whatever, you know, not less. That's a weird way to put it. But I'm just saying, like, some people need more time. Like, some situations, some trauma experiences, some past situations, yes, you could put kind of a rough, vague timeline on it. You could be like, if I do this every day, 6 months, like, if I keep practicing this, and this, like, I'm going to start regaining my empowerment back. And that's 110% true. But that's not the end of the road. It's just not. Especially not if you have complex trauma. It's just not. I want that to be the answer, but it's not. Because if there's complex trauma, the difference between PTSD and CPTSD, PTSD is typically described as a one solitary event and the healing of that. And CPTSD is when that one event or whatever events becomes a subsequent series of events. And what we call that in the energetic healing world is the unhealed trauma, the unawareness of it starts to create more of the same trauma because of the lack of awareness. And so it's one after another after another. And what I'm recognizing about the differences here is I noticed this a while ago, some years ago. I think I mentioned this in my last video too, is like, you conquer childhood. You look at all those memories, you cry, you have catharsis, you forgive, you find compassion, you let go. But I ran away from home at 18. So right after that, boom, we're at 18 to 27. Or no, not even 18 to 24. We got to heal that chunk because a certain amount of repetitive traumas that happened from 18 to 23 that inspired 23 to 26 traumas, and from 26 to 29 trauma. Or when did I start my journey? I don't know, but you get what I'm saying. I started to really take seriously about 8 years ago, I think. So with PTSD, with the solitary, I'm not saying one is harder than the other. They're both freaking hard as shit. I'm just trying to explain something that I'm recognizing and why I have to give myself more grace than what I'm comparing myself to, which I shouldn't be doing, but I am, and I'm going to stop. So I have to find the grace. And it's like when you have a PTSD moment, we can just keep going back to that, man. It's almost like a relief because something can come up and we're like, yo, let's go look at that memory again. What else has happened in that thing that caused that? Because every trauma experience is like a sphere of awareness. It's like a whole dynamic with all different sides. Like you have to look at it from so many angles of like a sphere perspective and see it from over here, see it from over here, see it from, and once you cover the entire surface of seeing it from a perspective of those different perspectives, now you go to the center of the sphere and look out and look at it all from that perspective. That's how you trauma heal. So you take that one scenario and you have to do those 1,000 of perspective outside, then the center, and then the 1,000 outward perspective outside, and then you could start retraining your brain based off of what you have learned and the awarenesses you've gained from that observation. But when you have a series, it's gonna take longer than that. And it doesn't always just go back to this one sphere. It's not always just like, oh, let's just go check back in with that one. It could be one of the 1,000. Excuse me. I'm getting a little frustrated. I shouldn't. It's okay. It's okay. That's what my spirit's been trying to tell me lately. And I totally believe in God, and I'm just like, hear him. Well, he doesn't have a gender, but we just put that on there. So that's another explanation, but it's like, it's okay. It's okay, girl. I got you. You're safe. You're safe enough to revisit the thousands of spheres. But they're each their own universe with thousands of dynamics and shifting things. And it almost feels like a forever, an infinitely moving labyrinth where you finally get to a corridor and you think you understood and you figured something out about yourself because of this trauma experience. And then all of a sudden, the whole freaking labyrinth changes again. And you're like, shit. And that's what keeps happening to me. And I keep shifting between these two, from fear to acceptance, fear to acceptance and surrender, fear, acceptance, surrender, blah, blah, blah. And because there's multitudes. And I keep forgetting that. And I keep just wrapping it up as my past, making it a solo activity, and then getting confused why it seems like that infinitely moving labyrinth, right? It's not just a solitary past. It's a past riddled with trauma. So we have to accept that every trauma is its own sphere of a universe to be observed. And it's going to take a very long time. And I don't know what the ending goal looks like. I don't know. Does it mean me mastering the infinitely moving labyrinth and being completely always on my toes? Well, that doesn't sound very relaxing. You're just being, right? Can't really just be if that. Or is it the acceptance of the moving labyrinth and stop trying to conquer the labyrinth? Or does the labyrinth stop moving and the way become clear once all of the spheres have been observed, have been dissected, have been outside and inside seen? I wonder. There's a lot. I mean, the second one sounds more correct because I believe that my brain is rewired differently for the rest of my life. That's scientifically fact. So I think it's an acceptance of the infinitely moving labyrinth instead of the fear or the frustration of the infinitely moving labyrinth. To accept the fact that this is now how my brain is, and that's totally cool, and to accept whatever monster comes out from that new corridor of the moving labyrinth. That now I have to say, hey, what's up, demon? Forgot you were in here. What pain are you representing? Let's take me down the hallway. You show me where to go, and I'll put my little healing juices into it, So hard and exhausting. And then I'm over here being like, I don't want to not be motivated though. Dude, you're literally trying to accomplish an infinitely moving labyrinth in your mind, and you don't think you're doing enough work? Why? Does it need to be on the outside of myself? Do I need to see it on my everyday life? Do I need to have a giant wound here or something so that I can start to understand that the mental is exactly the physical and that it's going to be equally exhausting? I preach these things all the time. But when it comes to applying them to self, it is so difficult because I'm freaking motivated in my own way. I have all these ideas, all these all these things I can do. But right now, I'm not there yet. And I instead of just saying let's jot those things down and we reach them when we reach them, I'm like, oh no, induce fear. Can't return to my past from lack of pushing myself. I didn't push myself in the past. But did I even need to push myself in the past, or did I really just need to love myself? Yeah. And I do forget stuff a lot, man. And that worries me. I don't want to mess anything up. But the labyrinth just shifts. You hear the stones start rolling and the dust starts to become unsettled. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Hold on to the walls. It's like the freaking stairway in Harry Potter. You know what I'm saying? You thought you were going to reach your dorm. Oh! And then I fear because then I'm going to forget and I'm going to mess up, But every mistake is fixable. It's not that big of a deal. I got to remember that my brain is ouchie boo-boo, and that's okay. We can fix that. But this whole doing it from fear is gotta go away. Doing it from a crack of the whip from self because of fear, not the way, man, not the way. And what I did, I think I mentioned this to you guys a couple episodes ago, but I'm now working on solely listening to my intuition and just going with that flow. And yeah, I do have stuff to do, and I'm trying not to make those super long lists. I'm trying to just be this gets done when it gets done, and that gets done when it gets done. It happens. There's certain things that need to get done with a due date, for sure. I'm a businesswoman. That happens, But at the same time, it doesn't need to be dragging myself through the mud about it. It really doesn't. I had to get a package to the post office at a certain time, as well as a check to pay for an event. And instead of just waiting for the mailman, and because he's inconsistent, just drove into town and went to the post office. And I, instead of being like, I gotta do this and this is hard because the Labyrinth is moving today, instead I was just like, the Labyrinth is moving and that's okay. We're gonna just put on something nice and cute and like make ourselves feel like we're enjoying the summer day, and made a couple stops amongst that trip that were also important that I had put on the back burner because of the Labyrinth thing. And I was like, okay, so I'll also go to the bank. That's great. But it just came to me as like, all right, this feels like I can do this today. Not, it doesn't feel like I can do this and I'm going to force myself to do it anyway. That's not the vibe. So it's weird. It's interesting because in the beginning of the journey, you're trying to break these old habits, which means instilling a lot of self-discipline and a bit of whiplashing to yourself. But then as you keep going down the healing journey, you have to learn to trust yourself that you've mastered that self-discipline. You have. And that you can now be more flexible and ebbing and flowing with the activities in your life. Because my solar system no longer has substance abuse in it. It doesn't. But I keep those memories, they overlap. It feels like it was yesterday. Dude, guys, it's been years. And I literally forget that. I'm like still patting myself on the back, but it's been like freaking years. I'm not going to turn to it. I haven't in years. I'm not gonna now. So I don't have to keep mush, like, when you're, it's hard to explain. It's like, I can see it here, I can feel it here. And there is an evolution of once you really finally get both feet on the side of the fence of that positive self-growth, you gotta trust that you're there. And I think that's what I've been struggling with, not trusting that I'm actually there. Like, I'm going to choose, like, toxic shit again. I don't even know how to do that anymore. But I still, because the memories and the dreams and the things like that are right here. But my actions and my way of being are so far away from that. It's very confusing. Talk about losing your mind, man. And I think also this has opened up my eye. Well, I already knew this about myself, but then I recognized how many spheres I have in my collection. So I love crystal spheres for some reason. Like, I know now. But when I first started becoming drawn to them, I was like, what is it about these things being carved into the perfect freaking sphere that's just like the best thing ever in my life right now? And that's when I started working with the crystal spheres and their energy and learning, like healing's not linear, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I came up with the idea that the feeling, the intuitive message that healing is like a sphere. And you must look at every perspective of every part that makes the outside. And then once you complete looking at it from every one of those perspectives, you become the center of the sphere looking out. So now you're seeing how you are now perceiving all of that after, with that integration, with that knowledge. Now you're learning, now you're looking at it with all the things that you've already absorbed and learned about yourself. And I've got I'll count, maybe there's 40 spheres in my collection, and there's a bookshelf in my family room, just a bunch. And now I'm seeing that. It's because that might be how many spheres of healing I truly have. Because when you're drawn to something and you buy it out of that, right? You purchase it or you obtain it out of the fact that you're drawn to it. Why did I stop after a certain amount? Because I definitely did, but unconsciously. And now I'm thinking, I'm starting to see that everything we collect that we're drawn to in the spiritual world, like crystals, gemstones, nature things like that, they all have a spiritual significance, but they all also represent, I think, how many parts of self, how many multifacets of healing of self one needs, right? Because that's the only reason I started collecting crystals. You're drawn to it, then you go and you research what it's about, and it was another unveiling of a trauma or an accepted personal belief based off of a trauma that I had to eradicate and unlearn. So, and then all of a sudden, just like recently, like last year even, I'm no longer finding the need to like hunt or look at crystal. Like, I'm not hungry for it. Like, I feel like I've got enough for myself. I still sell them. So, yeah, I'm always doing that. But like for my collection, I don't feel that there's something I need out, like it's already here. And then when you see it all like displayed on my bookshelf like that, it's very much that opening of that awareness of like seeing that internal labyrinth externally and making that more understood to self, because you could see the multifacets of who you are displayed on a bookshelf rather than just this solo person with a solo past. And I keep seeing it like that, and that's wrong. I'm not just me and I'm past, present, future. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. It's more in depth than that. And I believe these trinkets, these items that we're drawn to in those moments, and when you're in the void era, you know, all of that is really you just getting everything inside of you into an outside thing you can look at and work with and be like, made it more understandable what's going on inside. I also believe that's why personally I turned to self-harm back in the day, because everything doesn't make sense. It's so much. So you're just like, let me make it make sense. Hurt myself, right? Now it makes sense. My ouchie is on the outside, which shows me the ouchie on the inside. But that's that's not a good coping mechanism, because eventually you become comfortable with how much you can hurt yourself, and you just go, well, why not just do the final one? That's what happened to me. I felt like I didn't realize that strategy was not, it's leading you closer to being comfortable with just the finality, because it's not a pretty crystal, it's a wound, and you self-inflicted that. So even though in the moment it helps make sense of the inside, it then deepens the pain, because now you're like, now I'm hurting myself because of the pain. And it's like this it just becomes this self-deprecation, and then one day you're just like, what's the freaking point? So it's like you can, and I'm noticing, I didn't do this on purpose, but I saw the shift. I mean, I almost did the bad girl things, but I was saved spiritually and by the fire department. Anyway, and I was like, I can't do that again, because that was actually really scary. Like, you don't think it is. You're just like, I'm so frustrated. I'm so overwhelmed. And like, this is the answer. And then as you're actually slipping from this reality and going out of consciousness, you're like, oh shit, that's pretty final. So I was like, okay. And then that's when I heard this voice. And this is why I'm like back into God and back into religion, because I heard this voice. It was like, bro, you didn't try everything yet. You just tried this one avenue, which was self-harm in all different aspects: substance abuse, shitty people, actual harming of oneself. Like, you tried all that, but you didn't try embodying an entirely different life, And that's when I was like, cool, I'm going to do everything outside of what I know. I'm going to push myself to learn outside of what I already know. And that's when, I don't even know if I would say a friend, I'd say like a freaking angel in disguise, because this kid just swooped in, popped me this crystal Bible book, and then like pieced out of my life, and I started researching and learning. And then he popped back in like a month later and like dropped me off some sandpaper and like some chiseling tools. And he was like, you can carve those too. And now that's my business? Like, it's insane. It's insane. But like, seeing the inside on the out is beyond helpful. And for anybody who's like, I don't believe in energy, I don't believe in frequency and vibration, I would like to try and convince you otherwise. But if you don't, that's fine. do these things out of the concept of they represent a piece of a hidden part of you. If that's what you got to do to get into this lifestyle, then do it. But then eventually you're gonna believe in it. Because when your thoughts and your feelings start to change because of what you're learning through these external items, then you start to then your life starts to change. It starts to build better. It starts to attract more goodness. Then you can't not believe in it. I was that way. I was like, I don't believe. I'm here for the science. And then it was literally just recognizing that within myself, changing in here and changing in here, changed everything out here. It's insane. It's insane. And now I work with like aromatherapy and like lymphatic drainage, like, just like all these other little, because you believe that simplicity has power. You believe that wisdom has power. Yeah. And it's a cultivation of multitudes of wise people. And that's why it's called the Crystal Bible, because that's also what the Bible does for you. And I also recommend you read that. Or the book Mere Christianity, but honestly, that it's a great book. It's eye-opening as shit. But like, I need one of these, and I have to reread a page like 3 times sometimes, but then and then I'll have to think about it for the rest of the day, and then when like my boyfriend gets home from work and I explain it to him, then it all makes sense. So it's not an easy read by any chance, but that's the point of things that are labeled Bible. It's like a reference made up of like a cultivation of wisdom, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's what we need in our lives. Yeah. Zoned out there for a second. It's just, yeah, the Labyrinth thing. Because, I'll be skipping down a hallway. I'll be hype. I'll be like, yo, I connected all these pieces and we got a clear shot to the end there. I'm super psyched, and I'm like, yada-da, and then all of a sudden it's like, and I'm like, you gotta hold on to the edges, the floor under you is even moving, you gotta jump from one end to the other, and that's when I'm going through the PTSD, depression, triggers, and the memories, and the suppressed traumas, that's that feeling, but then it all starts to, you're like, and then you're looking at the new environment and you're like, oh, okay, I gotta be a different person now. And I'm not talking about authentically, I'm always gonna be who I am, but I mean yeah, now I'm different molecularly and DNA wise because I cannot keep on keeping on with the same mentality that I had. I have to have a new one now, and that's okay. And it's really not that kind of, it's hard because of the acceptance, surrender, and all that part. No, it's easy if you do that. But I have the tendency to fight it. I don't know. I'm a freaking fighter, and I don't want to be anymore, bro. I feel the emotions, and I'm just I'm gonna fight them. Dude, just accept where you're at. And then so yesterday, with the full moon being the way it was about all of this transformation, growth, and whatnot, and it being in Capricorn, and a sign that's not really good at expressing emotion, and the moon, all it wants to do is express emotion. It's very contradicting, conflicting energies. So I just chilled, man. I had a random day off. I had a client reschedule. My first thought, because I'm a fight and go getter, my first thought was, oh, I can do the Little Italy market now. I should call up the lady and see if they got open spots. I'll pop up my tent and I'll vend. dude, how about we listen and like become aware of the signs here that I've been given a gift of a day to do whatever my soul needs. Especially because, like, the day before, I was like, this is what I need. And then the next day, I got it. And then I was like, whoa, this is looking a little too peaceful. We need to go vend at a market last minute. Like, shut up. So, I'm learning. And I didn't go vend the market. I watched a TV show and made, like, charcuterie snacks for myself. And I had, like, a tray of little handmade Lunchables. And strawberry lemonade, coconut beveragino, and then I think I like stretched. I watched that show. I did nothing really. I just like existed. Oh, I read that book, Mere Christianity, so good. And then I didn't jump up and be like, I gotta make dinner. You know what I did instead? I was like, we've got this, and that. What would you like? And we made dinner together. It's not a big deal. It's not, trust me, I don't have a partner who's like making up these rules for me. It's literally just me. Like he would prefer us to just like make dinner together. He wants to do everything together. But like I've got in my mind weird rules that don't make sense. Like the dishwasher is clean. I don't need to empty it. I really don't have to do that. My brain is telling me it's a task that's unfinished and I have to do it, but my chest doesn't feel like it. So like I'm not going to until I feel like it. Or delegate to my partner. Gotta learn to do that more often too. Like I finally have that. I didn't have that for 15 whatever years. Like I didn't have that trust in another person. I'm still working on it. But this is actually a good person. He's a good man. Like sometimes, of course, he'll get like a little, I didn't wanna. But like we're working on that too because we both can compromise, right? But that's the thing. I have these people now. You're supposed to ask for help. It's not even asking for help. It's just like, we both live here. Like, I don't know why it's always my responsibility. It's not. That's what I'm saying. Like, see that sentence I just said? Like, that's a personal truth. It's not an actual truth. It's a personal truth. And it's a truth that was 100% a universal truth back when I dated boys. Back when I dated the boys that would buy an entirely new outfit from head to toe and let our phone bill get turned off. Right? That was his only freaking job. That was the only bill that man had to pay. Boy had to pay. And he couldn't handle it. Just couldn't do it. And so that is very much ingrained in my mind. And I'm just like, instead of fighting and being sad, watching people not meet the expectations, then, I just do them. But I don't have to anymore because I did that thing I was talking about 10 minutes ago about changing everything about my life and my lifestyle, that there's literally nothing that mimics the past in my present. It's just my brain. And now I gotta take it all out and I gotta sort them like the sorting hat, back to Harry Potter references. Put the sorting hat on. Gotta sort. What's the present? What's the past? What's the present? What's the past? So that I can start abolishing that fear and stepping into that empowerment of being like, hey, yeah, I didn't do that. You want to just do that for me real quick? For us real quick? I'm still learning. I'm still learning. It's really not the big deal. Like my friend, my watch battery died. She's just like, I got it. I'll just get it fixed. I was going to buy a whole new watch. I think we already talked about this at one point. But she's like, took it to a jeweler because she didn't have the tools. Like, and then just Venmo'd me, like, or I Venmo'd her. Like, she just let me know how much it cost, and I just Venmo'd her to her. Like, I still don't really understand how to express how much that, like, changed my life. And like when my other friend, like if she brings like snacks over or like offers me her weed pen, I'm just like, what? Nobody's just relying on me to do everything and supply everything. Like, it's blowing my mind, and I have to let it happen. And I gotta let that, and if that fear comes up, let it come up. And then root it into reality. Does it actually fit here? No, it doesn't. So, just like how my life is punishment, because like I talked about that in one of my last episodes. It's not though. It was. But we're allowed to have challenges in our present that are not the punishment of our past. We're still, life can't just be strawberry fields forever. Like, shit happens. Get bugs on the strawberries, gotta deal with that, you know. You get pests in the garden, gotta learn to build a fence. But that's not punishment. That's wisdom and learning and applying the knowledge. It only feels that way because that where the past is right here at the same freaking time. So we have to start like, nope, past, and unlinking that. I think even just me over and over telling myself that my life is not punishment, after my brain tries to make that connection, I start to show it. Like my girlfriends and I just had a movie night the other night. We had air mattress out. We had watermelon. We had gummies, gummy parade. You know, I just picked up new gummies, and we're watching like a '91 Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, like such a feel gooder one. You know, and like we're laughing and we're telling stories and we're just, you know, enjoying our time together. That there was nothing about that evening that was punishment. That is my reality now. That hanging out with my girlfriends and watching freaking movies and hanging out and eating watermelon is my reality. And I have to always remind myself that. That's that mindfulness. And that's okay. It feels a little rudimentary because this is the stuff that I did in the beginning of my journey, but it's coming up for me again now, and I have to go back to those tools and use them again. I have to say, I am safe. I am protected. I am guided. I am in my present. My present is beautiful. My present is a gift. My present is a blessing. I have a support system that loves and cares about me unconditionally. I have women in my life that I can look up to and be inspired by. Even my friends, I don't even think they realize how much they inspire me. Like, and I think that's also why sometimes I get wrapped up, because I'm like, they're doing so many good, so many awesome things, and I don't recognize my own awesome things that I'm doing, and I'm just like, wow, you guys have all this energy and capacity, but like, we all have these, right? And I have to remember that, and it's okay. Yeah, life is not punishment. It felt like that. But then again, okay, whoa, now that I'm thinking about it, were we actually being punished? Were we bad? Because here's something I read in that book, Mere Christianity. Badness doesn't really exist. It's the spoiling of goodness. It's the quest for goodness done through badness. So, we're all inherently good. I don't think it's punishment. I think just shit happens. You know, certain of us just have to get these lessons because we're like warriors, you know. Some of us just need that extra fortitude or that extra fine-tuning. And it's only our perception upon these things that make it punishment or bad or good. There really is no dualism. Everything is actually good that becomes spoiled. It's interesting thought, right? Because and then that was described as like the story of the devil, right? The devil was once an angel. So it's a representation of we're all angels, but we have the opportunity to fall. we also have the opportunity to get back up. Maybe not the devil, he's down there. He doesn't see it, but no, he probably had the opportunity too. Let's be real, but like had to be stubborn. That's once again looking too realistically at the story. It's more like metaphorically, but you get what I'm saying. When I read that the other day, I was just like, oh shit, because I feel that. Even the worst people that have done the most horrible things to me, they want goodness, but they're going about it through badness. And that's what separates you and disconnects you from the goodness. And then insert guilt, shame, fear based off of your own choices. And now you're even further disconnected. Now you're going into the pits of hell and despair where you can't see the light. Because that's where the devil is. He's in a place where God cannot reach, meaning no light can reach. And when there's no light can reach, then what is there to remind you that there's other things, that there's goodness outside of this dark, that there's hope through perseverance of following the light. But if you have no light, no guidance, you don't even know what direction to go. Enter crystals, because you can find those in the earth where there's no light, but they bring light to the dark. Anyway, I'm gonna go work on a project. Got a commissioned piece right now, and I actually feel motivated to do it because I'm in alignment, man. And then maybe we'll do a little lunch. Got leftover dinner. I'll have that for lunch. Maybe probably take a shower. Still workout sweaty. Like, just gonna flow, man. Just flow. All right. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.